Welcome to
The Dark Files. I'm Emily Sweaters.
And I'm Kasie Cardigan.
And today we are going to open up a dark file on Tipper Gore and the PMRC.
Okay, I'm excited.
Yeah. Kasie, what do you know about Tipper Gore and the PMRC?
Literally nothing. I don't know anything. Besides what you just told me before we started recording about stickers.
Yes.
And that Tipper Gore was married to Al Gore.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, she was.
That's all I got.
Yeah. So I do want to kind of put out a disclaimer that today we're going to be talking about some explicit lyrical content. Some of it is sexual in nature, so if there's a trigger warning, if that's something that you're sensitive to, proceed with caution, and feel free to not listen to this episode.
Question.
Yeah.
Are the lyrics as naughty as Cardi B's new song, WAP?
Yes.
Or WAP?
Some of them are. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because that's pretty naughty.
Yeah, dude, it is pretty naughty.
Okay.
So, so the PMRC stands for the Parents Music Resource Center. Okay. And this was basically how we got parental advisory stickers on CDs.
Okay.
Yeah, so pre-1985, this was not really a thing. Like, there weren't parental advisory stickers on albums before. And this group of parents kind of banded together to make that happen. And I'm going to tell you the story of how this came to be.
Okay, I'm excited.
Okay.
And I'm sorry. What does the PMRC stand for again?
Parents Music Resource Center.
Parents Music Resource Center.
Yep.
Okay.
So Tipper Gore is the wife of Al Gore, who was a senator in Tennessee. I didn't know that before I started researching this. He was a senator for Tennessee between 1985 and 1993.
Okay.
And then in 1993, he became vice president for the Clinton administration. Served as Clinton's vice president. Did you not?
No.
You didn't know that?
I don't think I knew that.
Yeah, so Al Gore was Clinton's vice president till 2001. And then in 2000, he ran against Bush as the Democratic candidate against George W. Bush and lost.
Okay. I think I did know
Yeah,
this.
you totally knew that.
I knew about the George Bush.
Yes.
Because I remember that election.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of just forgot that he was Bill Clinton's vice president.
Yeah.
And the 90s, for some reason, early 90s are a blur, mainly because I was just bored.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, I don't really pay much attention.
For sure. I get that.
Anyway.
So Al Gore later went on to win a Nobel Prize for his documentary An Inconvenient Truth.
I did watch
about
that.
global warming. And also, another fun fact, my grandmother believed that my dog growing up looked like Al Gore. That
is a fun fact.
I'll post a pic of my dog on our Instagram.
Yeah, you need to post a picture of that.
Yeah, so, so Tipper Gore, sorry Tipper, I think that's a terrible name.
Okay, every time you say Tipper, I just think of this basketball cheer that we did in middle school.
What is it?
It's like, tip it to the blue and white, tip it to the blue and white.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
I think Tipper is a horrible name.
It's a terrible name. So Tipper Gore...
Or as Dan would say, that's a shit name.
Shout out to Dan.
Shout out to Dan Wobness.
Dan's got strong opinions about everything. Tipper Gore and Al Gore actually divorced in June of 2010, so they are no longer together. But just giving you some backstory on who they were. They were a political couple through the 80s and the 90s, and so the Parents Music Resource Center was an American committee formed in 1985 to increase parental control over access children had to music deemed to have violent, drug-related, or sexual themes by labeling albums with parental advisory stickers. Okay. So there were 4 Washington wives that founded the PMRC.
The Washington wives.
And they all had husbands in politics.
Sure.
Okay. So Tipper Gore, who we've already talked about, Susan Baker, who was the wife of then Treasury Secretary James Baker, Pam Hauer, who was a wife of Washington realtor Raymond Hauer, and Sally Nevius, who was the wife of former Washington City Council Chairman John Nevius. So eventually, at its height, it grew to have 22 members, which isn't that big.
Wait, yeah, I thought you were going to say something a lot bigger than that, like 2,200.
No, 22 members of, like, the actual, like...
Are part of the PMRC?
Yes, until it shut down in the mid-90s.
Okay.
So it was only active for about 10 years. So, here's how all of this came to be.
I'm intrigued.
Okay. So Tipper Gore, she had an 11-year-old daughter who asked for the album Purple Rain by Prince.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. Prince. So I don't know, how many of you are familiar with Prince's music, but Prince fucked. Like, dude had a lot of sex, wrote about a lot of sex.
Like
He's a very
Darling Nikki.
That's where we're going.
Oh, really?
Yes. Yes.
I've been singing Prince since I was 8.
Yes. Same.
So,
Same.
I mean, yeah,
But yeah, so Prince was a very sexual being, and so my thing is that Tipper Gore clearly had no, like, cultural knowledge of anything if she bought her 11-year-old kid a Prince album and had problems with it, right? It'd be different if you were like, yeah, I like Prince, and, like, buy the album for your kids and, like, whatever. But she, like, just was like, yeah, here's the CD. So she overhears Darling Nikki, which is a very explicitly sexual song.
I knew a girl named Nikki. I guess you could say she was a sex freak.
Yes.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So essentially, Darling Nikki, I won't, like, read all the lyrics to you, but it's essentially a song about meeting a girl in a hotel lobby who is masturbating, and then she takes Prince back to this, like, sex dungeon, and they have a bunch of sex. Okay.
Song so ridiculous.
Have you heard the Foo Fighters cover?
No.
I'm surprised you haven't, because your mom.
I know, Mom loves Foo Fighters.
Yeah.
Shout out to Mom.
Shout out to Leslie.
Okay, sorry. I'm just picturing, I don't know what Tipper Gore looks like, but I've been playing WAP for a lot of my friends,
Yeah.
and I'm watching their reactions, which is hilarious. So I'm just picturing Tipper Gore's reaction to her 11-year-old daughter listening to a lady masturbating in a lobby.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So she overhears little Nikki, and she is outraged.
Outraged.
She's like,
I'm sure.
She's like, what? What is this? This is disgusting.
But she also bought this
Yes,
album
without doing any research or I feel like if you were, like, I wasn't alive in 1985, but, like, I feel like if you
listen to the radio,
or, like, and the movie Purple Rain was, like, huge. Like, how did you not know about this? So basically, what I'm saying is she was probably a square who didn't like
a square.
who didn't like anything fun. Anyways, that's a harsh
I
judgment.
mean, her name is Tipper.
Yeah,
what
true.
do you expect?
So she's like, this is bullshit. I'm going to create this group, and she was going to use her political clout to try to censor lyrical content available to children, essentially. Okay. So they had a list of songs called the Filthy 15. And I'm going to tell you what the Filthy 15 were. So keep in mind that during this time in the 1980s, we were also in the midst of satanic panic.
Right.
So there was a lot of concern about, like, rock music causing, kids to kill and murder and rape people and, become demonic and worship in cults and all that other stuff. None of which really happened. Mm-hmm. It was just a lot of panic around some of the more, like, countercultural things happening at the time.
People panicking for no reason.
Yeah, it's
Emily?
crazy,
what?
isn't it? Okay, so Filthy 15.
That's so funny. The Filthy 15.
So this is a list of 15 songs in popular music at the time that the PMRC found to be the most objectionable. The list is known as the Filthy 15 and consists of these songs, and then, like, basically the lyrical content is considered objectionable. Okay. Mm-hmm. So Darling Nikki, which we've already talked about. Some of these I've never heard of.
Okay, I want to hear them all.
Okay, so Sheena Easton, Sugar Walls.
I know Sheena Easton, but
Yeah,
I don't know if I know
this
song.
Lyrical content is sex. Judas
Like, they just say the word sex?
Yeah. If they talk about sex in, like, an explicit way.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So Judas Priest, Eat Me Alive. Lyrical content was sex and violence. Vanity, Strap On Robbie Baby.
Wait. Did you say strap on in Rob? What did you say?
Strap On Robbie, Robbie,
Oh,
baby.
okay.
Sex.
Okay, sorry.
Motley Crue, one of my faves. Bastard, which violence and language.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
AC/DC, Let Me Put My Love Into You. Sex.
Okay.
Twisted Sister. This one's hilarious to me. We're Not Gonna Take It.
That one's on the Filthy 15?
Violence. That's like an empowering anthem.
Yes.
Madonna, Dress You Up. Sex.
Okay.
Wasp. Animal, Fuck Like a Beast. Sex, language, violence.
Okay.
Def Leppard, which this is also hilarious to me. High and Dry, drug and alcohol use.
Def Leppard?
Yeah. Def Leppard's like the most benign of like all the rock bands.
Yes.
I mean, Pour Some Sugar on Me is definitely, little salacious.
Why is that one not on there?
Well, that was Pour Some Sugar on Me came out in 1987, which was after this.
This list.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sure it would have been.
I'm like, my stepdad was playing Def Leppard in all big hair bands for us. Like,
Yep.
Abby was probably 9 or something like that. 10.
I feel that.
Okay.
Merciful Fate, Into the Coven. The content was occult. Black Sabbath, Trashed, drug and alcohol use. The Mary Jane Girls, In My House, sex. Venom, the song was Possessed. Lyrical content was of the occult. And then finally, Cyndi Lauper, She Bop. Which
Cyndi Lauper was on the Filthy 15?
Yeah. And the lyrical content was sex and masturbation.
Okay. I don't think I know a lot of those songs.
Yeah. The ones, I mean, definitely the Motley Crue, Def Leppard one. We're Not Gonna Take It. I know all those. But yeah, a lot of these I haven't heard before.
The Twisted Sister one's my favorite.
It's so funny. So hold on.
Because if you see the music video.
Yeah, it's so silly.
Their big hair.
Yes.
Okay.
So the PMRC wanted not just parental advisory sticker, which is what ended up happening. They wanted the lyrics of these songs that they deemed inappropriate to be printed on the outside of the CD cover or the record cover, record jacket, so that parents would know what their kids were going to be listening to.
Couldn't the kids also just go to like the record or CD store and then just read all of the lyrics?
Because once you, like back in the day, you know, when you'd open the little CD, it had a little booklet that would usually have the lyrics in it. But no, she wanted
them on the cover.
On the cover so that parents would know what their kids were about to be listening to when they bought this album. So
I don't like that idea.
I
think that's kind of stupid.
I totally agree.
But okay.
Yeah, so there was this huge Senate hearing for this. So in August of 1985, 19 record companies agreed to put parental guidance, explicit lyrics, labels on albums to warn customers of explicit lyrics. But before the labels could like officially be put into place, the Senate agreed to hold a so-called hearing on porn rock. That's what they called it.
Porn rock?
Porn rock.
Okay.
So the Senate hearing was held on September 19th of 1985 when representatives from the PMRC and 3 musicians testified before the Senate.
I'm excited because you look really excited.
I'm so excited. Okay, so...
Wait, I'm sorry, really quick. Mm-hmm. So the women got as a group and they just... Did they protest or just file a complaint or like how does that work?
So I do believe that they had a lot of like people backing them up, like you know, like probably religious.
Well, 2 of them have husbands,
in
right?
politics, and so
I'm sure they got some.
They definitely use like their political clout to push this along, and I think also took advantage of the satanic panic and like everybody freaking out about rock music and stuff.
Okay, so now it's in front of the Senate.
Yep, so now it's in front of the Senate. So the 3 musicians who testified were Dee Snider of Twisted Sister.
I love Dee Snider.
I do too.
Okay.
Frank Zappa.
Why can't I think of who that is?
you know who he is. If you saw him or heard his music, you know who he is. And then John Denver.
John Denver?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. So they all testified. So the three musicians were in opposition of these stickers, and then the PMRC was, of course, in support.
Right.
So they testified in front of Senate, and then Senate, was to rule on what they were going to do. So the official subject of this Senate hearing was the content of certain sound recordings and suggestions that recording packages be labeled to provide a warning to prospective purchasers of sexually explicit or other potentially offensive content. Okay. So first we're going to talk about the supporting witnesses. So Paula Hawkins was one of the supporting witnesses. Paula Hawkins was an American politician from Florida.
Only the best in Florida.
She is the only woman elected to the U.S. Senate from Florida. So
interesting.
Good for her. However, I fundamentally disagree with...
Like back in that time? Or
I
still
think ever,
today?
yeah.
The only woman in the Senate from Florida?
Mm-hmm.
That is a fun fact.
Yep.
Okay.
So Paula Hawkins presented 3 record covers, which again I think is hilarious. First one is Pyromania by Def Leppard, which actually I have right here.
That's the record cover?
Yeah.
Okay, for those of you that obviously you're not in here, Emily has this record on her bookshelf in the dining room, and it's like a gun bullet target thing, and and fire on a building So Die Hard. It kind of looks like
it does kind of Die Hard. So it's like a bullet. Like if you're looking through like a gun. I've literally only shot a gun once at Camp Webb, so.
I don't think I've ever shot a gun.
Yeah, it wasn't my thing. I wasn't good at it.
But like that's the
So this is so it's like looks like somebody's like getting ready to shoot a building. And the building's already on fire.
It's not like it's somebody's ass.
No, it's not somebody's ass.
Or WAP.
The back has like matches on it.
Well,
and it's called Pyromania,
which is like fire,
which is a fucking great album. It's my favorite Def Leppard album. I think it's better than Hysteria, which is a hot take.
Wow, Emily dropping some controversial shit.
So Paula Hawkins, first woman elected to Senate from Florida, presented 3 record covers. So Pyromania.
Right, Pyromania.
Wow by Wendy O. Williams.
Okay,
I don't know that one either. And Wasp by Wasp. So Wasp was like a, Blackie Lawless.
No.
They're just like a hair metal band. And so this, I'll show it to you. This was the album cover. So listeners, it's like an occult kind of thing. Looks like they're maybe like torturing a skeleton or something.
Okay, and I'm sure in that time it was very scary, but now it looks so cheesy. It looks like what's that? Like that smoke. A fog thing.
Like a fog machine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
this was definitely costing about $5 to make.
Yeah. Back then it probably was expensive with all the outfits. We need to post all of these pictures on Instagram.
Yes, we will definitely do that. We will definitely do that.
I'll write that down so we don't forget.
Yes. So, in the music videos for Hot for Teacher by Van Halen, which is a supreme music video. Have you seen that one?
I don't think I've seen it for a long time.
It's great. And then We're Not Gonna Take It. They just love to roast Twisted Sister.
We just talked about that earlier, which is ridiculous.
So Paula Hawkins comes up in the Senate and she's like, look, this is a direct quote. Much has changed since Elvis's seemingly innocent times. Subtleties, suggestions, and innuendo have given way to overt expressions and descriptions of often violent sexual acts, drug-taking, and flirtations with the occult. The record album covers, to me, are self-explanatory. So she's all like, back in the day when we couldn't see Elvis's hips, because, like...
Okay, I think I wrote that down as a note, like, Elvis. So she's saying that Elvis... Yes.
So, like, if you ain't nothing but a hound dog, like, he's not saying...
Okay, but what's actually really interesting, because I took this whole Elvis Dylan and Post-War America class in college, and Elvis was very controversial.
At the time, yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's interesting that she's bringing that back.
Right.
Because he was swinging his... Like,
and that they, would only film him from the waist up.
Right.
So, Susan Baker, who was one of the original founders, testified, this is also a direct quote, "There are certainly many causes for these ills in our society, but it is our contention that the pervasive messages aimed at children, which promote and glorify suicide, rape, sadomasochism, and so on, have to be numbered among the contributing factors. Whatever. So, Tipper Gore testified, asked companies to place a warning label on music products inappropriate for younger children due to explicit sexual or violent lyrics. So
this time they're still arguing that they want both parental advisory sticker and they want the lyrics on the case.
Yes.
Okay.
So they got this music professor from the University of Texas at San Antonio, Dr. Joe Stussy. And he gets up there and he talks about the power of music to influence our behavior. And he argued that heavy metal was different from earlier forms of music such as jazz and rock and roll because it was church music and had as one of its central elements the element of hatred.
What's church music?
So,
heavy metal is church music?
No, that oh yes. He quoted as church music, and said it had one of its elements of hatred. So I think by church music he meant I think he was trying to make an allusion to music that people believe in or take seriously.
Okay.
I'm not totally sure about that.
I was just picturing On Eagle's Wings and Lord of the Dance, and I'm like, I don't think that's true.
I love Lord of the Dance. That was a bop.
Mm-hmm.
So then they get this.
It was a bop.
It was a bop.
Sure, it's a bop. Anyway.
So
he's saying that
he's music can influence our behavior, and this music is different than any music we've ever seen before.
Because it's
about sex and hatred and violence and drugs and
Rock Around the Clock was about sex.
Yeah.
I think.
Everything's about sex.
True.
So then they get this dude, Dr. Paul King, who was a child and adolescent psychiatrist, and he testified on the deification of heavy metal musicians and to the presentation of heavy metal as a religion. So they were really pushing this. Kids are gonna believe this satanic stuff, yada yada yada.
Because it's all part of the satanic panic?
Yes, satanic panic. He also stated that many adolescents read deeply into song lyrics. So these are all the people in support of these stickers, right? And obviously, I think they're idiots.
I'm just giggling at adolescents are reading into lyrics when probably when we were at a middle school dance, it's let the sweat drip down my balls. And we're all just singing it, not even realizing what we're singing about.
Yes, exactly. Okay. Kids are stupid. Okay.
They're not listening.
No.
Half adults don't know.
Yeah.
What was the song we were listening to on the boat where mom was I didn't know that was about cocaine.
Semi-Charmed Life by Third Eye Blind. Yeah. Yeah.
So even adults
people
Leslie don't know.
Okay, so now let's talk about the opposing witnesses. So these are our boys.
Yeah, this is what I'm excited for.
Okay, so Frank Zappa.
Okay.
He gets up there. I have a lot of direct quotes because this was a Senate hearing, so there's lots of
yeah, that's fine.
transcripts available.
Okay.
So Frank Zappa says the PMRC proposal is an ill-conceived piece of nonsense which fails to deliver any real benefits to children, infringes the civil liberties of people who are not children, and promises to keep the courts busy for years dealing with the interpretation and enforcement problems inherent in the proposal's design. So he's basically saying it's not going to really benefit kids.
Okay.
It's going to be a pain in the ass for everybody. This is why are we making this a legal issue?
Right.
It's freedom of expression, it's art, it's music. It doesn't need to be something that's politicized. And so he...
he makes a good point.
Yeah, exactly. So that was Frank Zappa. And then we had this deep-cut John Denver, who was a folk musician that died in a plane crash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know how he died in his plane crash?
I don't think so.
He was flying his own plane. I'm pretty sure. This is not for sure, but
yeah.
I'm pretty sure because I went in a deep dive one time. I think they think he might have been drinking or coming down from drinking or something and flew the plane, and he thought he could make it a certain distance and flew into a coastal crash.
Yeah, so John Denver shows up, and a lot of people, when they heard that he was going to be there, thought that he might be in support.
Yeah.
Because he's a very different musician than Frank Zappa or Dee Snider.
Right. He sings nice.
Yeah,
calm,
songs. Folk.
Susie listens to it.
Oh, does she?
Grandma Susie.
Yeah. So he gets up there and he says that he was strongly opposed to censorship of any kind in our society or anywhere in the world, and that in his experience, censors often misinterpret music, as was the case with his song Rocky Mountain High, right? A lot of people think that's about weed.
Okay.
It is not. He further compared the PMRC proposals to Nazi book burnings.
Oh, snap!
Oh, snap, John Denver! And expressed his belief that censorship is ultimately counterproductive. This is a direct quote, that which is denied becomes that which is most desired, and that which is hidden becomes that which is most interesting.
I agree with that point.
I totally agree with that. So, like, I mean, and I think that's true for all of us. Like, if we're told we can't have something or we are not allowed to do something. Sorry, Barb. Nope. Here, grab her case. Just throw her on the floor. Sorry. Barb just got.
She just really wanted to see the new computer.
Very close to my Casey's new computer. But yeah, so when we're told we can't have something, it makes you want it even more, right?
True.
There's something in that actually. Hold on to that thought because that actually we're gonna come back around to that.
Okay.
So.
I had a thought too, but I can't remember it now.
So a lot of people thought he was going to side with the PMRC, but no, he was like, why are we censoring musicians? Like, that's really counterproductive and not, it's not going to bring about these great results that they think that it's going to bring about.
Right. And I think in comparison with the Nazi book burning, I think what it seems like they're getting at, or maybe I'm just thinking in my head, but like once you start censoring that, what else gets censored?
Exactly. Yeah. So now we got my man Dee Snider.
I'm so excited.
Okay, so listeners, if you're not familiar with Dee Snider, he's a boss.
Yeah. He had the best hair.
He had the best hair. He's actually very smart.
Yeah.
So growing up, I watched a lot of those VH1 countdown shows, and he was a regular on those. So that's how I got to really be familiar with his personality, I guess.
Yeah. I think I saw him in an interview, and he was married to his high school
Yes, they're
sweetheart.
still married. She's a dance instructor.
Which I thought was kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah, so he's super cool. So Dee Snider gets up there, and he's fully decked out. He's got his hair, he's got his makeup. And
yes. If you're going to show up to Senate, you have to go in theme.
Yes.
Yes.
So if you can actually watch this on YouTube if you want.
Okay.
It's really cool. So Dee Snider gets up there, lead singer of Twisted Sister, and this is a direct quote. Did not support this unnecessary and unfortunate decision to agree to a so-called generic label on some selected records. Like John Denver, Dee Snider felt that his music had been misrepresented, right? So they write a song about one thing, people think it's about something else.
Right.
Which
is the beauty of music.
Yes,
is that
you can
find your own
interpret it so many ways. So there's a Twisted Sister song called Under the Blade. Okay. They wrote it about one of the band members having surgery. So that one of the guys in the band was going to have surgery, and he was really anxious and nervous about it. So that was what the band wrote Under the Blade about. However, our girl Tipper Gore said that it was about sadomasochism, bondage, and rape. And that their other song, which made the Filthy 15, We're Not Gonna Take It, was promoting violence. So
I still can't believe that song is on the Filthy 15.
So Dee Snider does a serious mic drop moment, and he says, "The only sadomasochism, bondage, and rape in this song is in the mind of Miss Gore."
Yes, Dee Snider!
He goes on to say, Miss Gore was looking for sadomasochism and bondage, and she found it. Someone looking for surgical references would have found that as well.
I mean, that's a great point.
Yes!
If you're looking for something, you're going to find it.
Yeah. And so if you watch the Senate hearing, Al Gore's interviewing or interrogating him or whatever it is. And he's like, do you think that your lyrics are moral? And do you think that these lyrics line up with a Christian, what moral way of living? And Dee Snider spits back and is like, I don't think morality and religion have anything to do with each other, which is really cool. And then he says, the full responsibility for defending my children falls on the shoulders of my wife and I. Because
who is this? Dee Snider?
Dee Snider.
Okay.
Because there's no one else capable of making these judgments for us. So he's basically saying, you've got to decide what your kids listen to.
Right.
Right? We shouldn't be censoring them in such a systemic way.
Okay.
So those are our three boys that testify.
I love it. I think they make valid points.
I do too. So as a so remember, Tipper Gore wanted the lyrics printed on the CDs, and so as a kind of compromise, they did develop this parental advisory sticker. Mm-hmm. Okay, so on November 1st, 1985, before the hearing ended, it was agreed to put parental advisory labels on selected releases at their own discretion. The labels were generic, unlike the original idea of a descriptive label categorizing the lyrics, right? So every CD got the same sticker. There wasn't like a sticker that said, Darling Nikki, bad, like
right.
So
sex.
Yep.
Okay.
So
I guess that's a fair compromise.
Sure. However, had a huge backlash. Or not backlash. Backfire.
Okay.
Backfired. Huge. Because albums that have parental advisory stickers sell way more.
Shocker.
Than the ones that don't. And so it actually ended up like this forbidden fruit effect. Who
was the one that said that? Didn't one of them say that?
Yeah.
John Denver.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, so a lot of artists have actually in kind of a joking way thanked Tipper Gore. Ice-T's song "Freedom of Speech" contains the lyrics, "Hey PMRC, you stupid fucking assholes." The sticker on the record is what makes them sell gold.
I mean, he's not wrong.
Yeah. And so, a lot of musicians have made lyrical references to the PMRC and Tipper Gore in their songs, like Ice-T did. The song "Mother" by Danzig? It was on Guitar Hero.
I feel like that's one that I would know if I heard it.
Yeah. So it's about the PMRC. Mother, tell your children not to walk my way. Tell your children not to hear my words. What they mean, what they say. So that song is about the PMRC. Some prints of Metallica's album Master of Puppets contained a parody warning shaped like a stop sign that said the only track you probably won't want to play is Damage Incorporated due to multiple uses of the infamous F word.
Okay.
And it kind of goes on. There's other, it said other things too. So so she thought she was doing this huge, we're gonna save the children.
Yeah.
And it didn't work. And I will say from my personal experience, back in the day when I was buying CDs, Walmart does not sell explicit lyrical content. So if you buy a CD at Walmart, it's edited.
Really?
Yep. And I remember being in high school and being I'm not buying my shit at Walmart. I want the explicit version.
I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
So they only play the clean version?
Yep. So they only sell the clean versions. So
I don't know that my mom, if you're listening, you can text me and tell me your answer, but I don't know if she really cared.
Oh yeah, my parents definitely didn't care. And it's funny because they didn't censor anything Lauren or I did.
Yeah.
We watched whatever we wanted to watch. We listened to whatever we wanted to listen. I was listening to Def Leppard in the 5th grade.
Yeah.
Guns N' Roses is my favorite band. But I think it's funny. So, that's the music my parents grew up with. And I remember, my mom bought me Appetite for Destruction, which I also have up there.
Yeah. On display.
On display. When I was in high school, young high school. But then I wanted to... So... Guns N' Roses songs are a lot about drugs and sex and some
rock and
roll, some violence. And so I later wanted to buy a My Chemical Romance CD.
I like My Chemical Romance.
I do love My Chemical Romance. However, when I was in high school, and I was young, I think I was a freshman, my mom wouldn't let me because she knew that it was an emo, and sensitive stuff. And I tease her about it. I'm you let me listen to Appetite for Destruction, but you wouldn't let me listen to My Chemical Romance? And she was like, Emily, I was pretty sure you weren't going to, go kill somebody or do heroin. But, you were a sensitive kid, and I was worried that listening to, that kind of music might influence you.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
See, but that goes back to what Snyder
it's
was
when
saying,
you look back.
the parents,
yep.
You have to do what's best for your
right,
family.
Exactly.
I don't know. I kind of get it in the sense where... the lyrics, like some of them are very... I'm not talking about Dee Snider, but like I'm just thinking of music, some of the music when we were growing up.
Oh, yeah.
Like some of it was very explicit.
It was, sure.
And like Tipper Gore maybe shouldn't have bought Purple Rain.
No, she definitely shouldn't have.
But didn't they also have those things where you could like test out the CD before you bought it?
She probably didn't do that.
But wait, was that a thing though?
I remember that being a thing, like at like FYE or like Media Play.
Yeah, like you could hear the CD before you did it. Yeah.
Yeah, so all this is to say, I mean, I'm very much against censorship in music. And, you know, I'm not a parent. I think when and if I do become a parent, you know, if my kids want to listen to whatever, I'm going to listen to it with them. Like, I think you should be aware of what your kids are listening to. And, like, I listen to everything. Like, everything. And I don't really think it messed me up.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know if it messed me up either. Yeah. I mean, my obviously ranges from Dolly Parton to... I was painting my house today, and I had Dolly Parton on, John Daniels from one of her bluegrass albums. The next song was Crazy in Love by Beyonce.
Hell yeah.
And I'm like, not that those are inappropriate, but I think...
And I definitely think, like, I remember when I was in high school, I had a shirt from Aeropostale.
Sure.
And it said I'd sell my soul for rock and roll.
Of course you got that shirt! Oh
and so my mom bought it for me, and I wore it around my grandma.
Oh, God.
And she was pissed. And I remember, like, just looking back, like, thinking, like, why is this raising so much energy in her? Like, why does she care so much? But I think it's, like, definitely a generational thing. Like, again, for my mom's generation, like, that, I mean, my parents grew up with this music. Like, you know, so...
Well, I feel like it's kind of almost like video games now.
Yeah, for sure.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. I wouldn't I don't like when like my students are talking about how they're shooting prostitutes and stuff like that. But I think it depends on the parenting though. Like if the parents are involved and they're stopping the kids, you know, and they're monitoring. I think most kids aren't going to grow up to become like killers and rob cars, because I finally played GTA over the quarantine with my sister.
Did you really?
It was kind of fun. I've
never played it.
I couldn't steal the car. Like I couldn't figure out the button. So I would just run in circle and then I just kept getting beat up.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean that's really it. I just think it's interesting. And I also think that music is very like if you listen to popular music, it's pretty indicative of what's going on in the world.
True.
And I do get like, you know, this is my thing, right? I love rock music and heavy metal, and like I remember there was a song by Ozzy Osbourne and Lita Ford, "Close My Eyes Forever," and everybody said it was. I mean, I do think it was about suicide, and then like some teenager did die by suicide, and then everybody started to blame Ozzy Osbourne and Lita Ford, and it's like you can't
blame them, because also thinking about it, as we know that talking about suicide is the best course of action to make people feel more comfortable or feel like that it's okay to talk about it. So I think having songs like that are probably actually appropriate, because then maybe that person doesn't feel alone and they feel like it's okay to talk about it and speak about it. But that's unfortunate.
So
that's really interesting, Emily.
Tipper Gore and the PMRC. So let me give you my sources, because I forgot to do that at the beginning. So sources are heavily Wikipedia.
Wiki!
Yeah, Wikipedia is the godsend. So the PMRC Wikipedia page, also Tipper Gore's Wikipedia page. She has her own. And I did find like a Rolling Stone interview with her. I think it was from 2016 maybe, where they asked her like, "Hey, like, do you regret any of this?" And she's like, "No, I think it's more relevant now than ever because music is more readily available. So I think it's still really important for parents to know what their kids are listening to," which I don't disagree with. And I think, again, that's on the parent, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. You can't, we cannot censor everything for everybody all the time. Your kids are going to have to get exposed to things. And I don't know. That's just my opinion.
I don't disagree with, well, I don't know really, since you just told me about it and I've never really given thought to parental advisory sticker or whatever before. But I understand its purpose. Like if you're just a parent and your kid's like, "Hey, can I buy the CD?" And you're looking at it and you're like, "Well, I'm not really sure."
Right.
But there is some explicit. So like I understand where it's just like a general, hey, maybe look out for this album.
Absolutely.
But then the rest of that is up to the parent.
Yeah.
To be monitoring what your
Right.
kid is doing and
And
listening to.
again, not a parent, but like I don't want to raise lame kids that are listening like the VeggieTales.
Okay.
Like I want my kids to be
You're
like.
gonna be like, your kid's gonna be in their crib and you're gonna be doing, I knew a girl
But no, like I think it's just important. Like I look back on my own childhood. Like I was very informed. Like
True.
I was
You know a lot of
relevant, and my sister. I can't remember. Like she was talking to her geography teacher about something, and he was like, "How do you know that?" It was like I don't remember what it was, but like we just like knew all kinds of stuff. We were very informed. We knew all kinds of cultural references. We're really good at trivia.
You both are very good at trivia.
So, like, I don't know. That's just my opinion. But something I've always been really interested in because, like, as a child, I'm like, yes, I want the explicit CD.
But I understand where your mom's coming from, though, where you're not the type of person that's going to go out and murder people or shoot up heroin.
Right.
But you are, like,
I have anxiety.
Like, I could see, and she knew you and, like, knew that was, you know.
But I did eventually listen to MCR and came out okay, too. So.
I love
I did
that.
too.
I was just listening to Teenagers and Welcome to the Black Parade.
Those are both bops.
While I was painting today. I mean, but then also, like, now we're in censorship, but I was watching, like, Lifetime movies when I was 8, which is half of my anxieties because I watched movies about these husbands that murdered their wives.
Yeah.
Or, like, Unsolved Mysteries because that came on after Bob the Builder. After
I was
swim team
scared
meetings.
of Robert Stack.
Yes.
I was scared. Now I think he's kind of hot. But at the time. So my sister's favorite movie when we were little was Wayne's World.
Okay.
And
True confession, I don't think I've ever seen that movie.
Casey!
I think I'm only seeing parts.
We have to watch it.
Okay. Let's watch it.
One day we're at the so there's the line in there where so Rob Lowe's in it and he's like the sexy like record producer guy.
Okay.
And Wayne is Mike Myers. He's in love with Cassandra, Tia Carrera. And they're at Rob Lowe's apartment and Garth, who's Dana Carvey, finds condoms and says, ribbed for her pleasure. Ew. It's so one day we're at the grocery store. I was probably like 10 or 11 and so Lauren, 10 or 11. So Lauren would have been like 6. And I was like, Lauren, say that. And she said it to the cashier. My mom was so mad.
Oh my God. Oh God.
Yeah.
That's funny though.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's interesting though that you. Wait, was your mom buying condoms?
No.
You just had your sister say
know when you check out at like some small town grocery stores, the condoms are locked up in the box in the front.
Oh, okay. So you knew the context of what it was.
I did.
Though. So you're a very smart 10-year-old. I would have just.
I might have been a little older than 10, but I wasn't that old.
Because I feel like a lot of things just would have flown over my head, which is why my mom probably didn't care that I was listening to like Prince or whatever. Because I'm just like bopping along, and I know what any of it's talking about.
Yeah, and I think ultimately, like, we can't shelter ourselves from everything all the time. So.
Oh no.
But yeah, so I just thought it was an interesting little ditty.
I liked that one.
Thanks.
That was interesting.
Yes. So also there's the whole Senate hearings on YouTube. So if you want to watch it, I definitely recommend watching Dee Snider's part because he slays them.
I do remember from one of the VH1 shows that he is very intelligent.
Yes, he's very smart. He's very articulate.
Yeah. VH1, in for the win.
God, I'm going to do a VH1 Dark File one day.
Okay. My next file
what are we doing
next?
Be
on the Blue People of Kentucky.
Ooh, I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited. I've been learning a lot. It's going to be a lot of science. So, bear with me. But I think that's it. Well, that was an interesting story. And I feel like it's still very relevant.
Yes.
Especially as I literally making everybody listen to WAP. Like, hey guys, well, thank you for listening for this week. Emily, that was a really good tale.
Thank you. I
really feel like I learned something.
Good. I'm glad. I hope everybody learned something.
Yeah. So guys, thanks for listening, and hopefully our sound is getting a little better. We have a microphone today. So
really moving up?
We're moving. It's in a vase. Like the microphone is sticking out of a vase because there's not a stand, but that's okay. And if you have any suggestions for us on what to cover, you can email us at thedarkfilespodcast@gmail.com. My roommate, Jackie, she's like, I have another idea for you. I have another idea
Jackie,
for you.
give us all the ideas.
I literally have just a list on my phone. So please send them. Or text them if you have my personal cell phone number. Because we would love to hear them. I love learning new things.
Yes. And you can find us on Instagram at darkfilespodcast and on Twitter at darkfilespod.
Whoop. And I think we're going to try and post some of those pictures on our Instagram.
Yes, definitely share some of those.
Yeah. Well, Emily, what do you think about this file? What do we say? Case closed. We're not gonna take it.
No, we're gonna take it.